Hello and welcome back to the Energy Wellness series. Today we're going to be covering the difference between envy and the evil eye and what you can do if you suspect you've been affected by either of these negative energies. So, envy is kind of the feeling of wanting what someone else has. It's a bit of competition. It's wanting what someone else has, such as success, talents, blessings. And with envy comes this level of competition where the person having that envious feeling usually desires for the person that has that talent or success to actually lose it. And so this becomes toxic in that it's an indirect curse, right? Sometimes it's just, I'm so jealous of that person. I wish I had that. I don't want them to have that because then I don't have that. So it's a really primitive emotion and very toxic. So that's the envy piece of it. The evil eye piece of it is more the effect of that gaze. So the evil eye is really that envious gaze, that admiration that someone may have for someone who has qualities that they wish that they had or has talents that they wish that they had. And sometimes it's not even with malicious intent that they have that evil eye situation going on. Sometimes it's just the admiration. So if someone is envious, they are gazing with an evil eye, and that evil eye turns into a manifestation of misfortune or dense energy in the person. And so this shows up in many different ways. And if you're curious about how the different ways art can show up, you can look back at one of my previous videos on the indications of negative energy. But for today, I'm going to focus on envy and evil eye. And what brought this to my attention was something that happened last week with my daughter. And, she's 16 years old. She's a beautiful girl. She's very talented. She sings. She's got the voice of an angel. She's just a sweet, sweet person. And, what's not to like, right? But when you're in high school and, you've got a bunch of different kids around you, a bunch of different personalities and backgrounds, sometimes if people see something that they think they want, that you might be getting attention for, that they're not getting attention for, this can cause that deep-seated envy, which is that toxic inner emotion. And then there's the evil eye piece of it, which is kind of that secret curse that they put on you, like, oh, I wish she didn't have all that stuff. I wish all these people were not applauding her for this or recognizing her for that. And that's the evil eye piece, which is the actual curse that can be directly or indirectly put. So it's not necessarily that someone is literally trying to, use spells and put a curse on you. Sometimes it's just that dynamic of energy coming from another person towards someone who has something that they think that they want. And I will say that, when you come to a certain level in your spirituality or just your development as a human, you begin to realize that there's really no competition on the spiritual level. Everybody is blessed with their own talents and, has their own purpose or purposes. So there's really no need for competition. And there's plenty of success, money, talent, attention, all of that to go around for everybody. And that's what I tell my kids. Unfortunately, there are other people out there that don't believe the same thing. And I think, kids when they're young and they're going through their own identity discovery and all of that, that can cause a lot of insecurity. And so that's a piece of it that I spoke with my daughter about too. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it kind of culminated in this strange accident that happened. So she was walking across our dining room, and a picture from there's this credenza that has a bunch of picture frames on it. One of those picture frames fell down, and the corner struck her little toe and sliced her toe, and it was bleeding, and it was like, what the heck happened? So she was like, I was just walking by and this picture frame fell right on top of my toe. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And she goes, yeah. And I accidentally cut my leg the other day. Same side, it was the right side. And then she goes, and, earlier in the week, I kept bumping into things on my right side. And so I'm like, okay, I wish you would have told me about this earlier. But this is the way that energy can manifest and kind of accumulate and intensify if we don't clear it. And so this third incident where her toe was cut by that picture frame was really, the energy so intense that it caused harm. And that's what negative energy does or can do if it is not cleared. And so at that point, of course, I went ahead and cleared her. And I shared with her something, a technique that's really easy to do. And all you do is you kind of visualize yourself, because she definitely had that evil eye, intense envy on her. And as we traced back, some of the things that happened throughout the week, there were a couple of people that she could realistically attribute those energies were coming from. One of them is an actual friend in her friend group who tends to kind of compete with her, but is still a friend, So I think that's coming more from insecurity than it is from, her not wanting my daughter to do well. It's more like she feels like she's behind and she wants to kind of catch up. That's a little different. Another one came from this other girl who's kind of been bullying my daughter for maybe a good year. It was her freshman year, and went through a lot from this other person that was just mean spirited. Okay, so my daughter, she kind of went through an awkward stage in her freshman year, and then last year she was doing a little bit better, and then this year she's a junior and she's kind of had a glow up of sorts, and she's feeling good. She's expressing herself more through her singing and her acting, and she's really being recognized for some of that. And this person that had been bullying her in the past sits right behind her in one of her classes. So my daughter says, I can literally feel like her eyeballs boring into me, and my daughter's just kind of minding her own business, talking with the people at her table, but she can still feel that presence, right? That denseness coming at her. And so I told her, yeah, that's evil eye energy. That is, has its roots in envy and jealousy. And yeah, that needs to be cleared, because what that actually is a curse. So when it's coming from somebody who wishes you harm or wishes that, the success and the goodness that you have, the talent, be taken away from you and have those blessings be removed, that can be harmful. And so how do we clear it? I kind of took a little detour there, because I wanted to give you a little bit more detail about what this specific situation came from and how it manifested, because I think it's helpful in kind of comparing things that you may have gone through or things you may be experiencing currently. Okay, so how do you clear this energy? All you need to do if you suspect that you've been affected by these energies is you want to kind of picture yourself, a version of yourself in front of you. You could even use a picture if that's helpful, if you're not totally able to visualize it in your mind's eye. You can use an actual picture of yourself, or you can kind of direct it to your actual physical body. But basically, you want to imagine or visualize that there is a dark layer around the body. Okay, so kind of surrounding it, like just this outer layer of darkness around you. Okay, and that's kind of symbolizing that energy that you're wanting to clear. Okay, and you may experience it in different ways. Use your imagination, see how it shows up to you. And then what you want to do is you want to activate the violet flame. And some of you may have heard of this before. I first heard of it when I did my Reiki training way back in like 2005. And it's a very powerful, high vibrational energy. If you think of the colors of the rainbow, red is the lowest frequency color, and then you have violet at the very top. It's a very high frequency. So we use that high frequency energy to cleanse and clear whatever needs to be cleared. And in this case, it is evil eye. Okay. So what you want to then do, you see that dark layer around yourself, you want to use that violet flame and visualize the flame. And you can start from the feet and have it surround the body all the way up through the crown. However you want to visualize that, you're going to do that until that layer of darkness dissipates and dissolves. And, it's sometimes you feel like you're just using your imagination and you're just making it up. But the mind is very powerful. And I know from my NLP training that what we visualize and what we think actually is. And so as we imagine, clearing that layer, we are actually clearing that layer of darkness and elevating our energetic vibration. And so use that violet flame. You can look this up online too. There's a lot of information about it now. If you need help with visuals, you can look online as well. But I find that, just when you tune into the energy of that higher frequency, that movement of the flame, just allow that to engulf the body and clear all the way up and around. And you will start to notice that difference. So I told my daughter, when you start to feel that energy coming from someone else, or you just feel it, that you've picked it up somewhere that you're not sure where it came from, it doesn't really matter. You just want to be able to clear it. And so in such a case where she's sitting in period 4, she can actually pause for a moment, take a deep breath, visualize. She kind of visualizes herself out in front of her, and then that dark layer around. And then she starts to kind of burn that violet light up and all around her until it clears. And so she felt much more empowered, because I told her it's going to happen again. It's just, she's in that phase of life where there is a lot of competition and a lot of focus on external appearance or achievements. So she needs to have a way, since she is sensitive, to be able to clear these energies and not be harmed by them. Because again, like I shared in that story, that caused physical harm in a few different instances. And so that's where you can start to look at, okay, something's going on. If it starts to happen where you're getting physical information, you've really got to look at that. Let's take a moment to step back a little bit and look at the bigger implications of something like envy or evil eye. People who possess light, talent, beauty, abundance, success are usually just trying to be their personal best. And then there's people that get stuck in the emotion of envy or jealousy. And it's because they don't realize that their success, their happiness does not require others to lose anything. So there's not that competitive toxicity happening. It's important to remember that there is plenty of goodness available for everyone. And I think that, when you are spiritually connected, you kind of have that knowing. So I find that very few empaths or HSPs have that competitive toxicity that I was referring to with my daughter's story. So this is just a reminder that you don't need to feel guilty for being amazing in all the ways that you are. And you don't want to let the negative effects of something like envy or evil eye to cause you to second guess yourself. It is a very low vibrational energy. So you want to remind yourself that there are other ways to deal with something like the evil eye, which don't require you to shrink or to accommodate other people's toxic emotions. We don't want to live our life a slave to those kinds of energies. We want to actually really be in integrity with who we are, what our purpose is, and what aligns with our energy, and keep everything light as much as we can. It's reality that we're going to pick things up like this. I want to empower you by helping you to understand the ways that it might show up and also practical ways to clear the energy as well. I hope this has served you. I hope this has given you something that will help you through the holiday season. And if you like this video, please click like and subscribe to this channel for more tips on energy wellness. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.